So I'm going to work on Atlas with the plastic float again, and so I'm just going to move it and have him work on crossing it and then kind of start having it blow around with the wind, but you can tell he's pretty curious about it. I'm going to always try to make it move away from him and not toward him in the beginning because I don't want to scare him. I don't want him to think that it's chasing him. So I'm just going to lay it out and then put some hay cubes on it and then kind of see if he'll just kind of cross it on his own and figure it out without me trying to lead or anything like that. And so he's doing exactly what I want. He's just slowly crossing the little plastic float here. So that's pretty perfect. That's what I wanted. He's not worried. He's really relaxed. He's just taking the treats and he doesn't need any cueing from me. I really would like him to explore this on his own. Because the more cues and pressure there is, the more worried he's going to be. So I'm just going to have him come up to me, and then I'm going to make sure I'm off to one side just in case the float would move a little bit. I don't want him to like jump forward and jump on top of me. So just kind of be aware of where he is and where that is at all times. I'm going to see if I can do the same thing to going the other way. So I'm just going to put some hay cubes across it and see if he'll just kind of follow those across going the other direction. So you saw me introduce this to him in the other video, and then this is just like the second day with this, the next steps, and just kind of letting him explore it on his own and showing him that it's a positive experience, it's not scary, and just letting him kind of figure that out on his own. Because once you start leading and pulling and asking with the halter, it can just get really scary really fast, especially for Atlas. So I really want it to be as hands-off as I possibly can, but this looks great. He stepped over with his hind legs, he didn't get worried, and he came right over to me when I asked him, so that looks really great. So I'm just going to kind of move this around a little bit, and there's a nice little breeze, so I'm just going to let it blow near him a little bit, and he's interested, but he's not horribly worried at this point. And I'm just going to kind of move it away from him. So I want him to see it and not be terribly afraid of it. He was standing there nicely, so I'm going to click him for that and then go ahead and feed him. And we're just going to kind of do that a little bit. So have it blow around near him, and then I'll click him and feed him. So this looks much better than the last video. He's not nearly as worried. He jumped a little bit. He's a bit more worried than he was, but not as much as in the last video. So we are making some progress, and we would probably make more progress if I broke this down even a bit more for him. So previously I've had a lot of domestic horses. I didn't have any Mustangs, fresh from the wild basically, but for Atlas, he really taught me I had to break things down a bit more, and I feel like that's good for all horses, but especially for him. So definitely a recommendation when doing this is go even slower. So maybe just fold this up and then move it around and do it when it's not windy, and just break it up into smaller pieces. Not necessarily the plastic, but your lesson. So like fold it over, kind of hold it up and let it blow a little bit, but maybe not quite this much. So just a little bit smaller, but he is handling this overall really well. He hasn't left, which is good. When he leaves, he's telling you he's over threshold, he's too worried and doesn't want to participate anymore. You want the horse to want to stay, have fun, and earn his rewards, and he can't do that when he's super afraid. So this looks good. He's interested, but he's not over threshold. He's coming toward me. That looks great. I should have clicked him for coming toward it. That was really nice. But you want to make sure everything is going away when you're desensitizing your horse to something new. It always goes away from him, and he builds that confidence following it. So I should have clicked him again here where he's following it and moving his legs to get closer to it. So that's something else I do differently. That looks really good too. Very nice. I think I was much too fixated on him touching it and getting closer, and I should have broken it down and rewarded those smaller steps. So he's coming closer again. That looks really nice. He's a bit worried. He doesn't love that it's flying around in his face, but like you can tell he was just looking at it. He had stopped chewing, so he did have some worry there because he started chewing immediately after I put it down. So that's one of those signs that you can look for if your horse is super worried. So I should probably let the plastic move away from him. And again, here he started chewing immediately as soon as I put it down. So he's a bit too worried there. So I should go a little bit slower and not bring it toward him quite as fast. But he did improve with this. I should have done the whole lesson slower, but. So I'm going to put it back up on the fence, and this looks great. So I should have clicked and fed that because he's going toward it. So, and that's really all I want. So again, back to the baby steps. Should have done smaller baby steps and help him just improve his confidence. So I should have clicked all those steps there. Because what I'm doing kind of on accident here is I'm only clicking for him getting close to it and touching it. But for him, I don't want him to go up there and touch it and be terrified and then like spin around and run away once I start riding him. I don't want that now either. But so by doing those smaller steps, he builds up more confidence versus he's like, oh, well, I would really like a tree. I'm going to go up there even though he's still afraid. So it's really working on getting rid of that fear versus just doing the behavior of him touching the plastic. And that's what I was stuck on. So that's just something to think about while you're doing this training at home. But I had to go get some more hay pellets, so I ran out and cut that out of the video, and then we're just going to come back and do the same thing. So he's touching it. He's definitely worried. He's got his head up. He wants to move his feet. He's not super confident here. He wants to leave a bit. I mean, this is better. He's kind of showing a calming signal there. He's going side on to it, and then he does come back. So again, I should have clicked once he started turning to come back to it. Any movement going toward the object and being brave. So, but it is interesting to kind of see how he works through this. And I've sped this up because it was quite long and we don't need to see Atlas looking at the plastic for that long. But he's interested, he's trying, he's continuing to chew here, and that was really nice. He touched it, so I'm going to click him and feed him again. And I'm just trying to make this as positive as I could at the time. So I'm just going to hang out next to it. I'm not going to ask him to do anything. I should have clicked that forward movement again, and there he touched it, so I clicked and I'm going to feed him again. So he is getting better, but I think by slowing it down he would have gotten better even faster. So that's just why I'm pointing all those things out. So that was really nice. Click and feed him for that. But I really want to focus mostly on the confidence building versus just him doing the behavior of targeting it. So that is very important. I should have clicked that other one. I clicked the second nose touch, but I should have clicked the first one too. That was really good. He really has a hard time with it blowing toward him. So I probably should have put it on the other side of the round pen and had it blow away from him on the fence. And I should have done that first. Because all this flapping, once I start moving it, that really scares him. So, and you can tell he's a bit worried. His body is tense. His neck is up. His ears are pricked. He's not quite sure. So he's showing you all those behavior signs, and then he's showing me the calming signal where he's like side on. He's like, don't hurt me. I don't want this to, come after me. And I should have clicked him for moving those feet forward. And again here. But it's good to see kind of the whole process here and take of it what you can to learn from. So again, he's too worried, so he's a bit over threshold, so he leaves. And then comes back, but see, you can tell how he's just still tense and everything. So he's coming back, and I'm only rewarding that behavior. So break it down into smaller steps. Every time he comes closer, click and reward that. So when he's over threshold, I'm saying like he's too worried to stay and confidently learn. So he's leaving. Every time he's leaving, he's over threshold. And really, he's probably over threshold when his body gets tense and his neck starts to arch and he starts to blow his nose or his eyes get wider. Those are all signs where he's too worried. And at that point, we're not going to get a whole lot of good training done. So he's just on edge, and I want him to stay relaxed. So every little movement, he's like, oh my goodness, this is terrifying. And it seems like he gets worse as we go on here. So it's really important to notice those signs that he's worried and work down a bit. Take a step back and make sure he's okay, because it's going to do you a lot more good if you click him and he's halfway across the round pen and he's relaxed coming toward the object than when he's right next to it and he's scared. So, but over threshold is just him just getting where the anxiety and the worry is too much, where he can't positively learn and he's just too worried. So he did all right with that. I'm going to bring out the tarp, and it's again folded up, so same kind of process. I'm going to stay away from him. See, he got a little worried because he was between the tarp and the mounting block, and he felt a little trapped there, so he kind of stuttered and spooked out of there. So I should have moved that, either the tarp somewhere else so he could move around freely, or I should have moved the mounting block. But same process with the pool float. I start it folded up as small as I can, and then I'm going to put some treats on it and just let him explore that on his own. So I think it really helps, for him to build confidence and associate that object with food, and then I don't have to be in there. I can be safe and not on the end of a rope, and he's not getting conflicting cues and with like the lead rope and the halter, and then he doesn't get those cues from me because I'm worried he's gonna jump or run and he's on the line, and then he's not getting that pressure that he would if he was on the lead too. Eventually, yes, I will be using the halter and lead rope, but this is just for the beginning. This is where I like to start, and I feel like it does really well for him especially, but for a lot of horses. So I just want to control the environment as much as I can, especially in the beginning, and then start training for those variable environments. So I'm just sped up the video, doing the same thing, just letting him eat off the tarp. But you can tell he's relaxed a bit more. He's just continually eating and staying there. And then once the food is gone, then he moves. But you can tell when he leaves, he also leaves in a more relaxed manner. So that'll tell you kind of how he's feeling about the object. So, and he comes back nicely too. He just kind of comes back like he's going to his feed bowl, and it's not a big deal, but you can really tell that in his body language. So that's something important to see. But this looks really good for his first introduction to the tarp. This is really perfect. This is how I'd still like to do it too. So that looked really well for his first time with the tarp.